One of the most suspicious details in the chronological record is that the knowledge remaining of the so-called Phoenicians, Carthaginians, Etruscans, etc., whatever this maritime empire was called, and their history, as well as their mythology, religious rites, and other manner of traditions, is only through accounts of mostly so-called Roman and Greek writers. I suspect this is a glaring flaw in the chronological record that attempts to account for the Romans and Greeks coexisting with the so-called Etrusco-Phoenicians to make the Roman and Greek empires appear older than they were. If this isn't the case, and the Roman and Greek history is roughly as old as claimed, then I suspect the Etrusco-Phoenician Empire is far more ancient than them, and more ancient than scholars and archaeologists dated them to be. It is inconceivable that a superior empire, such as the Etrusco-Phoenicians, could have so few artifacts and inscriptions remaining, be it from them or the civilizations they did commerce with, to account for its history, while its alleged contemporaries, who inherited their systems, abound with artifacts and literature. Choose any nation that has gone to war. While to the victor goes the spoils, the defeated culture doesn't cease to exist from the historical record. But this is precisely what is claimed to have happened to the Etruscans after a war with Rome, and the excuses and explanations for why there aren't enough examples of literature from the Etruscan Empire to even understand their language, and the other languages of ancient Italy, are not satisfactory, especially because Rome was quasi-Etruscan. This is also the case with the Phoenicians. Delancey wrote, Irish Lang, page 45. It is therefore impossible to come to an exact knowledge of the Carthaginian gods, from what is delivered of them by the Greek and Roman authors. The chief deity of the Carthaginians was Baal, Beel, or Bel, the sun, to whom they offered human sacrifices. Where is the evidence? Is this another fantasy dreamed up by so-called Roman and Greek authors to demonize the empire before them? The chief deity of the heathen Irish was Beel, the sun, to whom also they offered human sacrifices. I could ask the exact same questions about the Irish and Druids. I broached this subject in the Holy Sailors, and though there are accounts of these practices, I have yet to see evidence of this practice dating from the era which it allegedly occurred. The Irish swore by the sun, moon, stars, and the wind. The sacrifice of beasts was at length substituted among the Carthaginians. The same custom, we learn from the ancient Irish historians, prevailed in this country. The month of May is to this day named Beltane, i.e., the month of Beel's fire, and the first day of May is called La Beltane, i.e., the day of Beel's fire, Beltane. These fires were lighted on the summits of hills, in honor of the sun. Many hills in Ireland still retain the name of Knockgrain, i.e., the hill of the sun, and on all these are to be seen the ruins of druidical altars. Recall the Areopagus is the hill of Ares. A derivative of green is an Apollogranus, signifying that he is an archetype of the sun, even though William Betham, whose work I admire, erroneously interprets Apollo as the pole star. The citations he used were not to be found in the works or page numbers he cited, which ultimately relied on interpreting a drawing of a statue or engraving, not an inscription. On that day, the Druids drove all the cattle through the fires, to preserve them from disorders the ensuing year. This pagan custom is still observed in Munster and Connaught, where the meanest category worth a cow and a wisp of straw practices the same on the first day of May, and with the same superstitious ideas. The third day of May is also at this day named Tries La Samare, or the third day of the sun's quarter. On this day each bride married within the year makes up a large ball covered with gold or silver tissue, in resemblance of the deity, and presents it to the young unmarried men of the neighborhood, who having previously made a circular garland of hoops, and to represent the zodiac, come to the bride's house to fetch this representation of that planet. To such a pitch is this superstitious ceremony carried. I have known in the county of Waterford a ball to have cost a poor peasant 2 guineas. The old Irish name of the year is Beltane, now corrupted into Bliadhain, i.e., the circle of Belus, or of the sun. Irish people pronounce Beltane like Baltina, which I suspect comes from the Etrusco-Phoenician Tina, also Tin or Tinia, one of their archetypes equivalent to the Roman Jupiter. Thus Lord Tina, Baltina, would be the etymology of Beltane if not anecdotal. Recall that Britain was peopled by Phoenicians, as far as we can tell, The Doggerland claims of a land bridge are not satisfactory, and there is no lore about Britain ever being connected to the continent like we have with Sicily and Italy. If you'd like to learn more about the ancient Britain-Italian history that the status quo and gatekeepers have obfuscated, depriving Europeans of their heritage and ascribing it to others, read The Holy Sailors. Become a member to access the rest of this article.